Education in the modern period focuses on events that have occurred in the teaching world since the 1980s. Certain major events occurred during this time period that impacted education. These events include, but are not limited to, the A Nation at Risk Report, the No Child Left Behind Act, and the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. In April of 1983, the National Commission on Excellence in Education conducted and released a report titled A Nation at Risk. The report was released to the public and showed the poor quality of education in America. Based on those results, the Commission made 4 major recommendations to help improve the quality of education. They recommended that all students that plan to receive a high school diploma be familiar with the 5 new basics, which included 4 English courses, 3 math courses, 3 science courses, 3 social studies courses, a half credit in computer science, and for those students planning to attend college, 2 credits in foreign language were recommended. These 5 new basics are the foundation of today's education. The Commission also recommended that schools try to integrate higher standards and expect more of their students in both academic performance and conduct. Teachers were recommended to devote more time to teaching the 5 new basics, and many recommendations were listed in order to improve teacher quality. The report caused uproar in the general public and education community. However, it provided much incentive for school improvement throughout the United States. No Child Left Behind is an education reform introduced in 2001 by then-President George W. Bush. The law's purpose is to improve elementary and secondary schools in America and also make sure that no child is trapped within a failing school. No Child Left Behind increased the accountability of states by requiring them to test annually in grades 3 through 8 to make sure that all students reach proficiency within 12 years. Schools must reach adequate yearly progress, otherwise known as AYP. Failure to reach AYP over time will result in corrective action. Schools that meet AYP become eligible for rewards. No Child Left Behind also provided parents with more choices for their students. Parents had the option to remove their children from failing schools and place them in a better public school within the school district. The goal was to ensure that no child would suffer academically because he or she was stuck in a school that did not meet academic standards. No Child Left Behind also had a goal to ensure that every child could read by the end of the 3rd grade. An initiative called Reading First was put into action. It increased the federal investment in reading instruction programs in the early grades. President Barack Obama signed the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act into law on February 17 of 2009. This law provided $4.35 billion to the Race to the Top Fund, which is a competitive grant program designed to encourage and reward states that are implementing conditions for education improvement, as well as student achievement, graduation rates, and ensuring student preparation for college and careers. Race to the Top also rewards schools who have the best reform ideas in hopes of using these schools as a model for all schools in the country. The purpose of schooling in the modern period is to ensure that students meet the standards set by the government. These standards require students to pass certain standardized tests in order to move on to the next grade level. This is supposed to ensure that each child receives an equally well-rounded education. This is also supposed to ensure that each child is prepared for college or a future career. Until the 20th century, many ethnic groups were not awarded the right to an education. This was due to many factors, generally specific to the ethnic groups themselves. These ethnic groups were considered minorities, and today they are considered non-mainstream population. Although each ethnic group had their own long battle to receive an equal education, today we do our best to make sure no student is left out or left behind for any reason, especially not because of their race. In the 1980s, there was a focus on students learning the required course content of the major subject areas, which typically were English/language arts, reading, math, and history. There were little to no elective options for students to choose from. The students had virtually no say-so or control over what they learned. In the 1990s, there was a national shift for students to begin owning their skills in what was commonly referred to as the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. This shift was prompted by lower test scores on standardized tests. Within the last decade, emphasis on the curriculum has been placed on science, math, and technology. These subjects are areas where students in the United States are substantially lagging behind other nations. The goal and expectation is that focusing on these 3 areas will allow U.S. students to become more equipped to gain employment in today's global job market. The change also enables students to take a more active role in their studies. The students are able to select specific concentrations and electives within the larger subjects. In 1983, the Secretary of Education report, A Nation at Risk, prompted federal and state curriculum standards. A Nation at Risk developed a set of 5 major recommendations to address the issues raised in the report. These issues are content, to strengthen graduation requirements and curriculum content; standards and expectations, to adopt more rigorous and measurable standards and higher expectations; time, devote significantly more time to instruction, including longer school day and school year; teaching, to improve the preparation of teachers and make the profession more rewarding and respected; leadership and fiscal support, to hold educators and elected officials responsible for leadership to achieve the reforms and provide fiscal support and stability that is necessary. In 1993, the National Council on Education Standards and Testing was established to begin the development of national standards and testing for K-12 education. These standards and testing practices were partially the impetus for and helped set the foundation of the current standards. The 1996 Education Summit brought together the governors of more than 40 states as well as national business leaders to support efforts to establish clear academic standards and subject matter content at state and local levels. In 1999, a second National Education Summit, including governors, educators, and business leaders, identified challenges facing U.S. schools in 3 areas: improving educator quality, helping all students reach high standards, and strengthening accountability. In 2009, the National Governors Association and Council of Chief State School Officers contracted writing of math and literacy curriculum standards. The educational standards were drafted to help teachers ensure their students have the skills and knowledge they need to be successful by providing clear goals for student learning. The standards determine what proficiencies are included in the school curriculum. In 2010, the Common Core standards for mathematics and English language arts were released. There are currently efforts underway to add social studies and science curriculum standards. However, there is much debate regarding the effectiveness and practicality of the standards in general, so the efforts may be halted if opposition grows. There are several factors that influence why students learn the curriculum content. These factors include federal and state government requirements in the form of the Common Core standards, financial incentives for schools to adopt the Common Core. Funding and grants are tied to the standards, so schools adopt them in order to get access to the money. External influences like parents, public opinion, and executives of large corporations such as Bill Gates of Microsoft. Careers, the ability to learn the subjects and gain the skills necessary in order to be a productive member of society. Competition in the global job market. The 2005 work Rise Above the Gathering Storm was a report published by the congressionally chartered National Academics which argued that U.S. economic growth would depend in large part on the capabilities of the education system. Technology plays a huge role in instruction in the classroom today. In the 1980s, microcomputers began being used in classrooms for drill and practice. A 1993 study showed that well-informed teachers were using word processors, databases, spreadsheets, paint programs, and desktop publishing, along with instructional software. This instructional software often included drill and practice programs. Of course, books and other resources were also being used, but this was the educational world's big launch into using technology. In fact, today we use a great deal of technology in our classrooms. Many classrooms are equipped with projectors to allow teachers to use PowerPoints as visual aids like the one you are viewing now. A significant number of other classrooms are using Promethean boards, which allow students to interact with the material being projected onto the board. Many other classrooms have computers installed in them for student use. In general, each classroom generally has at least one piece of technology for students to use.